Good morning. Charles is back on stage, and I do the focus topic keynote. The focus topic keynote is not something that you're necessarily going to agree with. The interesting bit is when Charles shuts up and we get a panel on who are far more intelligent than him. So I'm going to try and state what the public understanding is. But before starting this session, I want to put a couple of things out there. The most important one, ISPO. Yes, we know ISPO is moving. We will talk about that separately. If you don't know, this winter, ISPO will be here in 1 month's time. Next winter, it will be in Amsterdam. Summer ISPO has already announced their move to Italy. So that's the first thing to come on board with. This session is being recorded and the slides will be uploaded as well, so that they're going to be here on the Performance Days website in about a month's time. I'm also starting to perspire because we have people who know an awful lot more than me now in the audience. Patrick, I feel honored that you're here. If you don't know Patrick from Reju, by the way, you need to find Reju. We've got Patrick on stage later. If you want to know recycling done at scale, done professionally, Patrick. The questions we're going to try and run through Slido. Hopefully there's going to be a Slido. Is there a Slido slide going up? If I can ask the AV guys. Mark, can you prompt the AV guys, please, to put the slide up with the Slido on? We're also going to have a microphone in the audience, so we will go, all right, thank you very much, AV. But to kick off this, if you've never used Slido, SLI.do, and then dial in the 7-digit number, or just use your QR code. And that will allow you to be able to ask questions without interrupting. It should take you through to a website. But if everyone's happy with that stand-in, I will start off the presentation. Oh, good, we're live. This is who I am. I'm not really that important. I work at a small London college. For those who have not caught one of these before, the ambition of the partnership of Performance Day shows, there are 2 here in Munich, there are 2 in Shanghai, and now 4 in the United States. At the last show, I was only talking about 3 in the United States. We now have an exhibition alongside the PGA show in January in Orlando. The object is to educate towards better practice, both in raising the performance level, but also lowering the impact of textiles. Sometimes these are connected, but also sometimes we need to iterate outside the normal boundaries to find a better solution. And it's only by experimenting and getting wrong that we're going to find the best long-term option. A good example of this is to create the best design for an item so that it gets reused and reused continuously. That is what I believe in. Longevity is the best solution for lowest impact, which is also coincides with the main objectives of the circular economy. But that's what Charles thinks. But I have seen some amazing recycling technology, and I might not be correct. Sometimes we've got to go right on that. Now, the focus topic is written out in great detail in Hall A2 in the Trend Forum, where all the new fabrics are. If you go to the other side of the wall, you'll see what's been laid out. Now, the Trend Forum was the first special area at Performance Days, created 16 years ago, and it is still the most visited attraction. Unfortunately, more people go to the Trend Forum than come and listen to our talks. And Charles is now perspiring a bit more because I have the head of Lycra. Gary, good to see you, young sir. It's worth spending a good hour in the area of the Trend Forum because the 2,000 new fabrics which were submitted for the judges to go through have been condensed into the top 250 and categorized so you can see the best 28 in every category. Anna Schuster and her colleagues are the ones who put it together. And that really makes this as a show an educational resource. The other thing is that the Trend Forum, contents, labeling, and the focus topic will remain on the PD website forever. Performance Days, we have a tagline. It's by textile people for textile people. We might not be the most professional, exciting exhibition, but if you're a textile nerd, you'll be happy for being here. Now, this presentation I'm about to do is in total contrast to what's on the wall, but the two work well together. The focus topic wall is there to educate about what options are currently available as to do now. Whereas this presentation is removed by a level and it asks if we're doing enough. And if not, why not? And I know when we get Patrick on stage, he's going to put that in the right place. Is it unrealistic expectations? Is it lack of commercial support? Or general apathy? Or is it a combination? Or have I missed things out? If this whole thing of textile-to-textile recycling was the Titanic, what you read on the wall is it will tell you where the lifeboats are. Whereas Charles is the guy saying, why don't we have enough lifeboats? So that's the contrast of what's going on. Of course, to get this conversation going, I've played a MasterCard, and immediately after I shut up, in about another 12 minutes, we have a panel who are gonna really look at the detail. The panel is made up of the best people that I know. In fact, they're not the best people I know, they are the best people, full stop. For those of you who don't know, we're gonna have Shivam Gossain dial in from India. Shivam is ex-Fashion for Good. He's got a massive momentum at the moment on LinkedIn. Him and Lutz Volta, I would advise you to follow. They keep the intelligence going. Next one, I've got Katie Stevens. Katie will appear on stage. She leads the sustainability at the European Outdoor Group. So I go quiet when I'm around Katie. She's also one of those doctors from the University of Leeds. University of Leeds is where we have the best textiles going on. And if I'm allowed to call him Hairy Mark in the check shirt down here, he's the guy, if you want to see the future of academic research, he's the guy to find. But I won't invite Mark on stage. He's just helping us out. Now, we will also have Adam Gardner. A few of you might know Adam because he used to do the Better, the corporate social responsibility at Rafa, some minor brand based in London. He is now, he will correct me, but he's basically head of recycled at the Textile Exchange. So it's basically another one I go quiet and listen to because he knows more than me. Now, I am meant to be an academic. My proper job is I'm a subject lead in performance sportswear design at a small London college, as you can see up there. I also appear, I do some writing for the Outdoor Industry Compass. If you don't know what it is, it's in the Media Lounge. The Media Lounge has free coffee and free fresh waffles. Well worth turning up to. I also moderate the stage here and in the United States at these shows. Anyway, the point of the panel is to comment on what Performance Days has put forward, either on the wall or what I am saying. I have no qualms about what I make comment upon and it being torn apart. I'm here to provoke discussion. It's been a very latent thing. We've just accepted what people have told us and we've not really come on board. Right now, the key bit of information on polyester is we champion recycled polyester as an industry. 98% of the recycled polyester we get is from waste bottles. European legislation is changing. We now have implementation. We are not allowed to downcycle waste bottles into textiles any longer. We're an industry, our most popular fabric, which is it's 57, 58% is polyester. And we're about to lose 98% of the feedstock. If that doesn't wake you up to the seriousness of this discussion and the whole focused topic of the show, you shouldn't be sat here. Anyway, you're going to hear a bit of the yin and yang of the focus topic. So my start point is, I hear a lot of claims like only 1% of clothing is made from recycled textiles. I also know that clothing has an impact, a carbon impact of 8% of the world's carbon. We are big, but we're not the biggest. We get a lot of blame. We are an easy victim. If I look at the construction industry, the building industry, that is 39% of the carbon impact. I think we're a bit too soft in accepting blame. We also have lots of expressions about infinite recycling, zero waste, perfect circularity and closed loop system, playing that there is a nirvana that we can easily access. It's not that easy. There are solutions, but there are almost as many solutions that have to be applied as there are different fabric types. Now, my point of view is that we, as a textile industry, have allowed us to be the weak side of it. But I follow Mike Berners-Lee lines of thought. Individually, we all have between 10 and 15 tons of carbon impact. He says we should cut it by a third. I think that's a very reasonable request. And we should look at better offsetting at the moment. I can go on a diversion about biogenic and fossil carbon, but it's not for this session here, I hope. But I also believe in our life we need happiness. We need a quality of life. We are not here to live as hermits. We have some phenomenal designers. I know we all get little endorphin hits when we put on clothing that makes us proud. We deserve that. I could talk about the ugly side, which is the amount of clothing we get through. To me, the churn is the concern. We get through too much clothing at the moment. In simple terms, if I talk about the carbon footprint of a t-shirt is a single-digit amount of carbon. A pair of jeans is twice that potentially. Gary knows more about jeans than anyone else. So if you need to speak jeans, find Gary. And if I had a sweatshirt, that's about a pair of jeans and a t-shirt put together. So even with shoes and underwear, that might be 100 kilos of carbon. If our personal footprint is at least 10,000 kilograms, and I'm only talking about 100, we could have 1,000 outfits a year if we want to use it. It's 1% what we're wearing. It is relatively small, but it's the desirability that gets challenged the whole time. But what I want to do is I want us to start asking, where should the focus of our attention be? Should it be on textile-to-textile recycling? Should it be on decarbonization of the supply chain? I don't know. I hear papers from different areas that I'm really impressed by. I do know the impact of our supply chain. We have 3/4 of the impact happen outside tier 1, what we do, and our immediate suppliers in T2. Tier 3 and 4 is where over 75% of our impact comes from, which is hard for us to control. If I look at regular textiles, the biggest footprint is almost heating the water or the petrochemicals to dye our fabrics. That's where it's really carbon intensive. And there are some wonderful solutions. But anyway, back to textile recycling. I see 4 main players. I see government or legislation. I see the recyclers themselves. I see the collectors and sorters who get very little exposure, and they are a sticking point. They have the hardest job, and they don't have much support for it. But I also see those who make and sell it. Now, if I go in the reverse order, I know the collectors are keener to resell the items rather than put them into the recycling stream. It's worth a lot more money to resell. The recyclers themselves have almost no provenance information. And that's where the problem is. What is the composition of the garment? So that's the hiccup. But I also see some magnificent moves from top down from government and legislation. If you do not know what the EU Green Deal and the Eco Design for Sustainable Product Regulation and the amount of recyclable and recycled content within your product, you desperately need to spend a little bit of time tuning into what the legislation is. But once again, starting with that last group, we also now have live conversations about extended producer responsibility. They're around packaging at the moment, but they will soon be applied to clothing. So the clothing that you produce, you will have an onus to look after them at the end of their product life. I also know about eco-modulation. Can I just have a quick show of hands? If I use the word eco-modulation, who understands what I'm talking about? Oh, I am getting one or two. Julie, I'm disappointed. Eco-modulation is a proposed system of taxes that means virgin oil product will cost more than biopolymers. At the moment, we know biopolymers are the most expensive thing to develop and to integrate into our system. There will be a new system of taxes coming in. Now, there are lots of dramatic figures around EU waste textiles. 3.5 million tons a year seems like the most common total from a number of sources, which is about a third of it is pre-consumer, which is basically cutting room wastage, which is the best for recycling. But nearly half the waste clothing is that contaminated, it's only suitable for incineration. I want to be challenged, Gary, so please do it afterwards. About a quarter of it is suitable to actually go into the recycling stream already. So if I bring that down with all the figures, it's about 1 million tons of clothing in the EU each year, which we can actually put into a textile-to-textile recycling relatively easily. So it's far more realistic than if I see figures like 82 million tons a year. Now, the actual recycling process is complex, but it's split into 3 areas. Mechanical, think cottons and wools. Thermomechanical, think pure polyester. And chemical, which is in fact everything else, but especially the mixed materials. Now, the latter process can cope with an ever-increasing amount of contaminants. Technically, worn again is now 50% contaminant it can deal with. Lupamid can deal with 40% contaminant. If I go back 15 years, we were talking about if you had over 5% contaminant, we couldn't deal with it. Now, in recent years, I have been impressed by the progress made within chemical recycling processes, especially around the mixed fibers. But I think my expectations have actually been a bit low. What I do want to see is a major change for sorters, and sorters need information to do it. That's the sticking part of the chain. But designers at brands can make their life easy. We can put in information. We can mono-materialize garments relatively easily. If I pick on the subject of elastane at the moment, we had a great conversation with the Hoysung boys yesterday up at day 0. There's more than one different type of polyester. Now, we know about the range of polyamides, but we've got PBT, we've got PTT, stretchy polyesters, and the Polartec boys have just turned up, so we've got up a whole level again. The point that I'm making is that if we put PBT and PTT into the recycling process, it does not contaminate the polyester recycling process. So we have solutions. I also want to give a shout out to a little British brand called Paramo that collects its old used garments, and it has now got to the stage of collecting so many worn out garments because it offers a free repair service that they were able to recycle the donated garments and make new yarn, and they now have the first garments made from old Paramo garments. From a designer point of view, there are solutions, but just like the whole fluorine chemistry solution, we need to apply thinking. PFCs, more importantly, are what kept stains off garments, but design skill can also mask and hide those stains. There are melange yarns, which all my designers hate to use because they look cheap. Urban camo is a really good way to do it if you want to be hip and street. Or we can just use darker, muted, more matte yarns and finishes. The other advantage is that I've talked about 2 of our panel members. It's worthy to introduce our 3rd panel member now, and that is going to be Simon Whitmarsh-Knight. Simon Whitmarsh-Knight is the head of development and better. I think it's something like corporate responsibility within Hoysung. He just does good things. And he's actually going to keep the panel's feet on the ground because he's seen how it can be implemented at a much bigger company. So it's going to be interesting because life is not easy at all. The solutions are not there. If we could move to an easy solution, we would all embrace it, but we don't know what it is. Another technology to keep your eyes and ears around is around enzyme technology. This time last year, we paid a lot of attention to the coloring process, and enzyme dyes are phenomenal. I want to know, can enzyme dyes come into recycling and how effective they are? Is it going to be too much time, too much hassle? I don't know. I'm also seeing biodegradable finishes put on shards, so when garments shed microfilaments, whether in the sea or in dry abrasion. We need that stuff to disappear as well. It's not the most important, but it is convenient. It's got a very high public profile.